for your attendance. I will open the meeting at 10:02 a.m. and we don't obviously have any apologies. Do we have any other business before we get onto the agenda? CEO?
I just confirmed that everyone has been sworn in.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd also like to move that standing orders be suspended for this meeting. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor O'Neill. All those in favour? Well, actually, good point. I was actually going to do that. So standing orders are just like rules. They're the rules of the meeting. And because we've got a lot of new councillors that will not know all the rules, I think we're better off to suspend them, which means there's more open debate and so forth. Okay, so we'll do that vote again. All those in favour, just put your hand up. All those against? 9-0. Okay, now item 1.1, setting of meeting days and times. I would like to move that, and I'll just hand these around so everyone gets a chance to read it. So just like a normal meeting, it's a mover and a seconder, and then we'll obviously test the motion, ask if anyone wants to speak against the motion, and then we'll do the debate, and then we'll have a decision. I think I've got two. I'd like to move that we adopt the ordinary meeting schedule of the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, excluding December and January, commencing with supper open to the public at 6 p.m, subject to COVID-19 lifting of restrictions, followed by the meeting starting at 6:30 p.m. and finishing at 10:30 p.m, catering to be rotated with local food outlets in each area of the meeting to support local business or non-for-profit organisations. Point number 2, hold the general meetings on a rotational basis for the first meeting of each month, starting at Mitchell, Surat, Yulbar in June, in each area 3 times over a 12-month period, and the second meeting of each month be held in Roma, and that would be to give you 12 times over 12 months. So that's just clarity on how many meetings, because obviously this year will not be a full 12 months. All meetings to be held at existing council building in each area, and I will leave the last point off on advice that will come up in next week's meeting. And so, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition to the motion? Councillor Hancock. Do we have anyone who would like to speak for the motion? Well, I'll speak for the motion.
Mr. Mayor, can I just say,
sure.
With the suspension of standing orders that were just adopted, what you've done is taken the move and seconder off the table. Are you open to having a discussion first? Is that?
I'm definitely open for everyone to have their say before this goes to the vote, definitely. But I was just keeping some form of basic procedure going. Would anyone like to speak for the motion?
Tyson, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
I'm just going to be like Wendy. What's the difference between an ordinary and a general meeting?
Okay, sorry, the ordinary and the general are the same thing. Yeah, so that's the main meeting, that's the decision-making meeting of council.
It should really be ordinary.
Yeah, so I'm happy to change that to ordinary meeting.
It has been used interchangeably in the past, but I've recently sought advice just to, for thank you.
We historically have used it interchangeably, but we sought clarity and it should be ordinary if we're to be perfectly correct. Next.
Now, who would like to, would anyone like to speak for the motion? Would anyone like to speak against the motion?
I just would like to put forward just a few concerns I have that we could just chat about that is more
Sure.
before we go to a vote. My concern with having nighttime meetings, so first I'd like to say that I am all in favour of having regional meetings. I think that's wonderful to get out into our country towns. But I am a bit concerned about our nighttime meetings, just due to the fact that our ordinary meetings in previous times have started at 9 in the morning and gone through to 5, at least 5, sometimes 6, 7 o'clock at night. So I'm just a bit concerned about how late at night we might be having to make some really, really big decisions. Therefore, I worry about the community perception of working our businesses or our day jobs all day and then coming to a council meeting and making huge decisions with what's left of our energy from that day because we've been working our own businesses during the day. I just worry about community perception on that. I also have concern with the financial impact of council. So paid overtime for our staff, and the costs of how that will all add up. I just think we need to have a look at the financial impact. I actually have a worry about the impact on our staff and their family lives. A lot of our staff have small children, and sometimes it's only one parent at home, and obviously they send them to school or to daycare and kindergarten during the day, so they come to work. But whether they could actually come to our nighttime meetings. And those staff, if they're travelling in from regional towns, they're travelling from Surat to Mitchell or Mitchell to Injune for nighttime meetings and having to leave their families, I think that will have a huge impact on their family and also the safety of our staff who are travelling. Also, I find sometimes, being involved in the meetings previously, sometimes councils need to ask certain staff for clarification, and if those staff aren't at work, it actually may hold up a decision to a fortnight before we can get that clarification on the advice we need from those staff members. So I just wonder what benefit it is to be moving our meetings from daytime to nighttime, and so that we can weigh up the cost of both financial cost and cost on our staff with their family time, if that's okay. I sort of probably do want to add in that we are making decisions on a multi-million-dollar company very late into the night, and so I would like to be fresh-faced and clear-minded to be able to make those decisions, for the best outcome for the communities.
Okay, would anyone like to speak to the motion or speak against the motion?
I'd just like to speak. That's okay.
Sure.
I honestly don't know if I'm for it or against it at this moment.
But my concern also with Joe is the staff, as in the Maranoa Regional staff. Like, should we ask them, or should we ask the CEO whether their staff are prepared to do that? I know they'll probably take time off in lieu. I get that, but from a business point of view, with Peter and I, we always want to treat our staff the way we want to be treated. So I would like to ask. I presume we ask the CEO. I mean, I know they're not our staff as such, they're the CEO's staff, so I would like to know their point of view on what they think. I'm not sure if I'm for it or against it. Like, if Joe's got to come from Surat and Mitchell, then they've got to get a motel because they're not going to drive home at 10:30 at night, which also, you know, maybe we've got the money, I don't know. I don't know how many it affects for their jobs during the day, because I don't work during the day anymore, so I don't know how it impacts on anybody else's life around this table. I could go either way. To me, it really, or maybe we could try it on, you know, one day and see how it goes on the first Wednesday or the second Wednesday, and then have a day one the next Wednesday or whatever we do. Could we mix it up a little bit to start with and see how we feel, how the staff get on with those changes? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just very, very mindful that when we've tried to organise meetings for, say, PNCs, etc., we've gone to those who are the most affected. It's amazing how people do express preference one way or the other. I know with a lot of schools with PNC meetings, they're done at night, just through the ability to open up to parents who do work and would like to attend. So maybe we could even consider, do you have people attend as in the community? Do you have people who want to come and be part of it? Because I think that needs to be considered as well.
Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Mr Mayor, and I might just take this opportunity, if I can, to say congratulations to the new councillors that I haven't had an opportunity to say that to yet, and I do really look forward to working with you all over the next 4 years. I'm hesitant to speak for or against this, given that it is the very first decision that we're making, but it's a big one. I share some of the reservations that's already been expressed, but I see that there's some opportunities there for us to have broader engagement with the community that put us in as their councillors. I know in the first term of the amalgamated council, which I wasn't part of, and now no one here was part of, they trialled the meetings in Roma and outside of Roma, and they found that very rarely, if at all, did they have anyone from the community turn up to the meetings. Now, we're 8 years down the track. I think it's worthwhile testing that again to see if there is benefit to have meetings in the outlying communities that make up our region. But I, like the other speakers, have some concerns about the impact that will have on the organisation, the impact it will have on staff. You know, Mr Mayor, I've heard you say on countless occasions, I agree with you, that we want to make the Maranoa Regional Council a workplace that people want to work for. And I'm really concerned that people that have commitments outside of their work will be impacted by a decision like this, that we have nighttime meetings. So they're young mums and dads that have got kids. They're grandparents that might look after their kids of the night. They might be single parents, as Councillor Hancock said, that don't have any other arrangements. And so I think a decision like this, whilst it's an important one, it will have a huge impact on how we do business. So that's from an organisational perspective, and as a councillor here, for me to make decisions like this, I like to know what the impact is, and one of them is the financial impact. If we're bringing staff out of the night, not just in Roma but to the other centres, what does that cost? And is it worthwhile? So I'd like to see some figures around that. As I said, I wholeheartedly support having every second meeting out in the region. I think if we control that on a short-term basis, probably after the restrictions are lifted, because no one's going to come and meet with us in any of those outlying towns until that happens. They won't even come here, obviously, to see us here in Roma. I think we need to trial that and assess it based on some facts around whether it does have a positive impact on people coming to our meetings. In terms of as a councillor, for 8 years on average we've come together formally as the councillors for 48 hours in a month. That was 2 general meetings. The day before a general meeting, we'd come together initially for a councillor briefing session or a workshop, and then there was an agenda familiarisation day in the last 12 or 18 months, 2 years. And all that was 48 hours a month we'd come together. I haven't seen, and I'm interested to hear around briefings and workshops. I'm not seeing that in the resolution that we're having a discussion about now, but based on what I'm seeing here, that would be formally, council would come together for only 8 hours in the month. And when I stood for council, I was the manager of the local natural resource management group here, the Queensland Maranoa Committee. I was there 5 days a week, and when I stood for council, I knew that there would be a commitment. I had a little bit of idea what that was, but I didn't really know until I got in there how big a commitment it was. And I quickly learnt that it was a huge commitment to be a councillor, time-wise and commitment. And so I transitioned out of being a manager here, and I took on a part-time role with the organisation. And I've since, in the last few years, stopped working for them altogether because of the commitment of council. And it meant that, you know, for 8 years, at least every single Wednesday between the hours of 9 and 5, I was in this place, working with the councillors. And you'll know, Jeff, and the Councillor McMullen and the Mayor will share with you, there'll be some days where it's not the full 9 to 5. It's 9 to 4 or 9 to 3, and there's other days where I've left here at 7:30 at night. So I'm sharing that with the meeting here today because we've got 6 new councillors out of 9 that haven't sat in this place before, and it's all very new. And I just wanted to give the context of what we've done historically. Now, I'm not saying that that's perfect, and I reckon we need to be flexible and we need to look at other options, but I just wonder, is the right model to keep going the way we've been going between 9 to 5 Monday, on Wednesdays, and the other days for workshops, that's what the majority of council wants. And then everyone's informed as to what the commitments are and the complexities of the issues that we need to deal with. And I mean, Mr Mayor, I'm pleased you've touched base with all of us. Well, I think you touched base with all of us. You certainly did with me prior to today to give me a bit of an idea of what you were proposing, so I could have a real think about it rather than just coming up today, and I thank you for that. And I raised with you in that conversation that, you know, 8 weeks from now we're expected to deliver a budget. In the last couple of years we've had a budget standing committee, a formal, you know, mechanism of council, where we met in excess of those hours that I spoke to you just about before. So I don't know how we're going to fit that into this as well. So I think there's got to be room to move, absolutely. And the way we do business should be flexible, and we should look at other options. But I just think everyone needs to be informed in making that decision, because the decision that we're going to make is going to have impact on the people that support us to run this organisation, both positively and negatively, and there'll also be some impact on how we interact with the community as well. So I just think we need to throw everything on the table and have a broad discussion about this when everyone is more informed. Thank you.
Any other councillors like to speak on the issue?
I could probably see both sides. I come from a volunteer background where all our meetings at night time, and I've got to drive to, say, Rome or whatever, could be for 4 hours or whatever. So that part of it doesn't sort of worry me as an individual. On the other side, with the staffing issues, I know there is functions, whether it's Volunteers Week, where it's a similar situation where council staff's got to stay out for 6 hours after, or whatever, 4 hours. So it has been done before, but can I ask how many staff is needed to run a meeting? Is there, just to get clarification, I can see positives and negatives to both. Definitely going into regional centres is great. I think, like Miss Councillor Guthrie mentioned, with the people being able to come to 10 meetings after, it's also good for opportunity for giving those community groups engagement to cater might encourage more people to come and attend the meetings. But yeah, if I can just get clarification on how many staff is needed, please.
Okay, so obviously we need a minute taker, so we need one person, and it really depends on what staff are there, whether we need to be briefed or not on motion, like information. But part of this process is streamlining and changing, so we would not expect, and also staff could join us, they could join us through Zoom, or we can organise those sorts of things. The idea is, and I didn't move this in this motion, but the idea is that we also will have longer to read reports, ask questions, so I don't expect we're going to have a lot of staff at our meetings if we've already been briefed on it. If we have no questions, and this is what happens now when the last term, if there was no questions, the staff didn't need to be there. But if you talk about time, the amount of time that I saw staff sitting outside waiting in case there was a question or were there for certain days, they were travelling down for those days. So I'm certainly very understanding about staff, and it may be that the CEO brings back that we do a contract position for taking the minutes if people don't want to work after hours. But I also believe council should be very understanding with staff that don't want to do it. We have a large workforce of staff, 300 to 350 people. We have the ability to do this, and you know, I certainly have been to 2 elections now on operating locally, and this is a crucial part, and the night time allows people to come to our meetings, and I do believe we will get people at our meetings, because part of this, and this will come in future, would be how do we have a service to pick people up when we're in those towns if they want to come out at night time, watch the meeting. We also get great information by having the general public there. So I think you can sort of agree to do it and then we don't do it properly, or we can agree to do it and then do it properly. But giving the communities their council back, because a lot of people work, so the only time they get to come and talk to us is at night time. So this is an opportunity that they can come in and have supper and then tell us their issue. They may want to go before the meeting. The other thing is, just to clarify on what was said, the meeting will finish at 10:30. It was also mentioned about motels. Councillors from the last term used to stay in motels or units anyway when they're here in the daytime. So don't think there's no cost in just operating a council and this is going to be an extra cost. But if we do it, I believe the community will grab hold of it, because I don't believe we should just make a meeting day and then we just turn up and say nothing to the community. This would be a major event in the community to have your council meeting in your region. And the state government does it. We can do it quite easy. And this is an opportunity. So no, I don't believe any staff should be forced to do it. They might decide to join us from Zoom and they don't even have to travel. And I think, is that correct, CEO? We have a time in lieu for staff that they can take other time off. Is that correct?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
So, councillors, there's 2 parts of how local government works. The reports are done by the officers who are qualified and experienced to put those reports together. Quite often there will be a lot of discussion, debate, things raised by any one or more of the 9 councillors. That healthy debate does raise other questions, and so it is very helpful to have the report author there to speak. Whilst the directors and I are across large parts of the organisation, there is nothing better than having the person who actually wrote the report, who lives and breathes it, to be able to be there. So we're not necessarily just talking managers in that case, or even directors. It will be positions underneath that that are writing those reports. So the post-election meeting is a very small, as the experienced councillors will tell you, a very tiny agenda. Think of it at times a couple hundred pages of information. That is a lot for any councillor, experienced or new, to get across. And it is very helpful to have that person there to ask those questions directly. To their best of endeavours, they will always try and do that report as thoroughly as possible. But at the end of the day, it's the councillors who are there closest to the community, who've been elected to represent the community. So you always will bring a different set of eyes. That's the value of local government. You will bring that extra set of eyes and be able to ask questions that may not have been thought of when the report was being prepared. So as I always say, the magic happens in the boardroom, because it's not even what one councillor thinks. When you get 9 councillors together debating an issue, there will be things come out of that no one councillor would have been able to preempt if they had read those reports in isolation. So the first part of the local government is the report to you, the debate, and then the implementation. From the implementation side of things, it is absolutely incredibly valuable for the person who had written the report to actually have heard the debate, because they actually then understand where the elected council is coming from, and then they can, that helps them implement. So I guess from an employee perspective, it would be sad from my perspective if the person didn't get to hear that full debate, so that when they were implementing it, they were doing it exactly what council had in mind, or even that they can identify particular issues. So whilst the majority view might be something, that they might pick up particular aspects that an individual councillor might raise, which can be considered in the overall picture of things. So it's incredibly valuable for the officer to do their job, to have that sound and impartial advice to you, to prepare the report to the best of their ability, to listen to the debate, and to have your voices in their head when they're going to do the implementation of those decisions. So I can only offer to you the very important aspect of that. To have the officers there, I think, is really important from my perspective. Can I also just offer maybe a couple of other comments in that, and this is before my time, so I'm not speaking from a personal perspective at all, but I understand that it had been tried and there wasn't a lot of interest, which is why that process was stopped. There was an overwhelming, I think, benefit, and again, there's probably one councillor who can speak more closely to that than myself, but really this is the business of local government, and we are now a very significant organisation, 144 million odd budget. We are very different to the very early days of local government. I think when I first started out, there were night meetings, but it really does need, I think, that fresh look at things. A lot of what we do now is very complex. When you look at, we've brought 5 organisations into one, and the level of technical complexity and the sheer volume of items, I would recommend that everyone be fresh when that happens. I do have some concerns, I guess, with the what it means for people in the room. That is the time when children are home from school and the flow-on effect to their home lives by having night meetings. Generally, arrangements, as I think one of the councillors said, are in place during the course of the day. Those arrangements are not in place at night. So it will be impacting on the lives of, I guess, councillors with young children as well, but also if there is any, but also for the employees, it will flow onto their home life as well. Workplace health and safety issues, I have concerns with people driving if it is from 10:30 to 11:30 at night, what that means with travel, and it would be helpful if we could get clarification of the expectations who would be at those meetings, whether it is the directors and myself, whether it is managers. That would be helpful to know. And just, I thought, given new councillors as well, it might be helpful to have an understanding of what other councils do, whether it's our size or a little bit smaller, a lot bigger. We've collated that for you if you would like to have a look at that.
You happy to pass that around, CEO, or someone to? Just on that point, would anyone else like to speak to this debate?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I was going to suggest, or I'm going to move a motion. I'll ask the Mayor if we can amend the motion, sorry. There's a lot of different ideas thrown about here, so I respect everyone's ideas. I would like to move an amendment to give the new councillors a chance to get their feet under the table, as per se. I think I've got it right, the first meeting in June would be the 10th of June. If we start a 3-month trial on the rotation of meetings, I suppose we would call it. And between now and the 10th of June, it would give the new councillors time to get their feet under the table, get to see how things run, and everyone would have a clearer picture by then, maybe.
So just clarifying on that, you're moving an amendment to do a 3-month trial starting in June, 10th of June. As per the motion.
That's correct.
Yeah, I'm happy to accept that as the motion. So that basically means that will be the motion now, that we'll add that this starts 10th of June for a 3-month trial. Councillor O'Neill, do you have a question?
Well, just clarity, I'll talk loud enough that it'll get picked up. Are you saying that it stays as the status quo as it is now, that a Tuesday, agenda familiarisation, a general meeting on the Wednesday, to then look at what's being proposed from June the 10th onwards?
No, well actually, what I'm happy to do is just deal with the ordinary meetings today, and next week we'll be dealing with the other meetings of council, I would imagine. So I'm happy to support Councillor McMullen if it's to do with the same motion. We commit to doing it. It would start on the 10th of June for 3 months as a trial, but it allows that time till now, till the 10th of June to get ready for it.
So that's tonight,
Yeah.
10th of June?
Yeah.
Reintroduce this
Yeah.
as it is on the 10th of June.
I've got a question.
Okay, well go ahead, Councillor.
I just wonder, Councillor McMullen, I get your intent, I think it's right, allowing people to get their feet underneath the table. wouldn't it just be cleaner is to defer what you're suggesting to be considered again on the 10th of June? Not introducing it on the 10th, because you then need to have a conversation with all 9, well 6, because it'll be new to them, not new to the 3 of us. But if you're deferring the decision around this, retable it on that day with the intent to take the lessons learnt for the next 8 weeks, whatever it is, and then make a decision, because you're preempting a decision that we're going to introduce it even though you're allowing people to get their feet under the table. The outcome's still the same, it just means that what you're tabling will be considered again on that day, not introduced on that day, because you need to have a conversation with your councillors again to see whether... Yeah, that's right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you're introducing a trial for 3 months and that's
Only
what you're
trial.
committed to.
But you may not want to do the trial once you've done the next few weeks, is my point. You may go, oh, hang on a minute, or you may want to, but that decision should be on the date that Councillor McMullen suggested. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same outcome, you're just making that decision on the day.
I don't believe we'll ever get to know whether it's going to work unless we trial it. And
But he's just saying, like, if we get our feet under the table and we're all comfortable with how this goes until the 10th of June,
Yes.
we might not want to change it, but then we've committed ourselves to a 3-month trial that none of us decide we now want. Or we might
Or
be
you
all
might.
ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's go, let's get this started. Like, I get
We're
that.
still considering it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we're going to
We
consider
might
it with
have
some
time,
knowledge,
we might
whereas
have
we
time
don't.
to talk to other people in the community about
We
it.
don't have
And
enough
say,
knowledge.
if we have a nighttime meeting, are you going to come, or, everyone might say, well, it was a waste of time.
Listen to me. I just say, like, a few of us are business people, and for me, I know, and probably Bert there, and night meetings would suit more because, it costs us a lot of money too. So you can say it costs this
But
amount of
George, you
money.
took on the job knowing it was daytime meetings to start with.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, but it's worthwhile. I just say it's worthwhile giving something a go. We can talk about this for a month, which we have done now, and we've got nowhere, so we can just drive.
Yeah. And we can.
We just keep going in circles.
Okay, CEO would like to say something?
Councillors, there might be a way that you can still achieve what the Mayor was intending by potentially having a meet and greet with the community now, in each of these towns over that 3-month period, because, as the Mayor said, you stood on a platform of local. So perhaps what you could do is have a calendar of events over these first key 3-month period, and actually have a meet and greet so that you can talk with the community as an elected body. That way you don't need to have the staff there. That's something that the Mayor and councillors can do yourselves. It's a way of hearing directly what's important to the community. I know you've already done that through the campaign, but perhaps that's something that you would like to do and would have immense value because it is building the broader team of the new Maranoa Regional Council 2020 to 2024. It gets you out and about and talking with your constituents, and that way you're almost trialling a little bit of the both. You're understanding the business of local government because you're now the business leaders of a $144 million budget. So that needs to be respected, but at the same time, to be out and about and talking with the community, that might be a nice balance.
Can I just, one more question? Just with the breaks, I'm just looking at, like if it's a nighttime meeting, it'll be continuous with 4 hours, say, or whatever it is. If it's a daytime one, do you just have morning and afternoon tea?
Yes.
And lunch? So that's 2 hours out of that day?
Oh, well, no, half an hour for morning tea, then an hour for lunch, I think we ended
And
up
then
doing.
afternoon tea, half an hour?
No, we never had afternoon.
No, that's okay. I was just curious, that's so 5.5 hours, so it's really an hour and a half difference potentially, or if it goes to a longer meeting. No, just checking, sorry.
Yeah, and thank you for providing this opportunity just to have a general discussion, because we are, 6 of us are new, and so don't really know what we're getting ourselves into. But something else that I thought about is I think we need to think about the impact it has on people who come and brief council. Do we have oil and gas companies or health professions and those sort of people who actually come and brief us, and whether that is then impacting on those staff members as well. So I guess a flow-on effect. And the other thing I was thinking is just that consideration of if we're going out to regional towns, rather than having the nighttime meetings and having the daytime meetings, if we're coming into the towns at 6 o'clock at night, yes, there are some people who might come out to meetings at night time, but there will be a lot of the senior members that won't come out to night times. I can only speak through my experience in Surat, but I'd be sad to arrive into a town at 6 o'clock and then be there at night and then leave again. Whereas if we have daytime meetings, you might have that opportunity while you're having a lunch break to go for a walk down the main street and to engage with some business owners, or at the end of the meeting, if it ends early, we can, once again, you can get to be able to walk down the street and engage with some of your community members and business owners. So I was just asking to take that into consideration with our decision as well. Councillor McMullen, I do thank you, because I do think we need the opportunity to get our feet under the table and actually know what it entails to sit around this table and the decisions that we have to make. So thank you.
I just thought of this. I thought I'd share it with the context I provided before about the first term of the Maranoa Council doing that flip between centres, and then the returning councillors from that term and the term that I joined in 2012. They were very clear on the fact that it was a waste of resources because no one was coming to the meetings, right? But I got elected to want to represent the community. I wanted to engage with the community. And so I had some reservations about doing that first up. So we had a conversation like we are now, which is fantastic. And we introduced what we called out and abouts, where we all jumped in a minivan or one of the 12-seater school buses, and we would go in any different direction. And sometimes we'd stop in a town and we'd advertise that we were going to be there, and people would come and meet with councillors, or we'd spend the day doing road inspections. Now, we did a little bit of this in the last term, and for a raft of reasons it petered off. But it really gave us an opportunity to work closely as a team, because we were travelling in the bus together, and if you happen to be the driver of a bus on one of the rural roads and got the flat tyre, you got the ribbing for the rest of the day, like I did. But that was all part of it, and it meant that we were working closely together, and you were getting to know one another, and you had some really robust discussions as you were driving around, particularly about roads. But you also had those scheduled stops, and we'd talk to one landowner and say, are you keen to host us? We'll bring all the morning tea and everything. They say, yep. And then they do a ring around and get 20 of their neighbours together. And we'd have morning tea or lunch with them, discussing not just road issues, they were one of the major hot topics, but it was a raft of different things that they wanted to talk to their councillors about. So there's just another option of what we could look at, again, as a council, if people had appetite to do something like that. Maybe town halls, where we advertise we're going to be in any of the centres at a particular time, at a particular day, all 9 of us. It could be at 9 o'clock in the morning, it could be 6 o'clock at night. But it's in addition to doing what we do as a council, in addition to the council meeting. So I just think, and I'm with Councillor Hancock on this. I'll get used to the names as we go on. But Councillor McMullen, throwing a breathing space in there will allow us to keep this as a topic, to come up with a few options as to what we do, and hopefully we get to a point where there is broad support to whatever the council decides
they want to do to operate in engaging with the community over the next 4 years.
Sure, please.
I'm mindful of listening to the discussions and thinking in an ideal world pre-COVID-19, a lot of these discussions would be really relevant and good. But I'm very, very mindful with my headspace in state government directions that I've been reading, the schools closed now to the 22nd of May, restrictions on who enters, etc. I think the opportunities for me, just making this comment, I think the opportunities in the next maybe month, 2 months, 3 months, in the near future anyway, for meet and greets and also community consultation are going to be different to what you've had in the past, and it's just the reality of the situation that we're in at the moment. So I think that's worth mentioning, because I think when I'm listening to people and going, yeah, that's a great idea, but just while the COVID-19 is on, so.
Thank you very much for mentioning that, Councillor Guthrie. In the councillor headspace, as opposed to the current pandemic, but certainly those comments are very valid.
It wasn't even negative, it's just the reality, the circumstances we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it's a new world, isn't it? So, but certainly something perhaps to think about. But thank you very much for those comments.
Thank you, CEO. Would anyone else like to make a comment before we go on?
Mr. Mayor, I was just going to suggest, listening to all the discussions, if we slip the word consider in that amendment I put up, maybe consider the, exactly how the word's before. At the 10th of June, maybe consider this current resolution.
Originally it was a 3-month rotational trial meetings across the region commence on the 10th of June.
I'll change it to consider it.
I think Councillor McMullen's point is a really good one, because we are also going into our budget period. So in terms of asking the question about number of officers, this is probably our peak time when you will want direct access when you're becoming familiar with Council's draft budget and what all of that looks like. So it's really quite an intense period. We're just getting you settled into the role now, but it will be all hands on deck to get that budget. So being here with access to resources is another perspective that I didn't touch on, but important to note as well.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question for point of clarity then?
Sure.
If this is the way it's going, it sounds like that's the way it's headed, what Councillor McMullen suggested. Then is this it can't be the status quo, because we've got a resolve to do something for next week today. Because the last resolution we considered back in November got us to the last council meeting, whenever that was, 28th, 26th, 22nd of March. So if we are intending of keeping the status quo that people get their feet underneath the table, the resolution will have to be that the general meeting of council be from 9 until 5 next Wednesday, whatever date that is.
It just needs to have a commencing time.
Oh, the commencing time at 9 o'clock on all those days up until the, did you say the 9th, George? 10th of June.
Well, I'm certainly not happy with the change to look at it, or whatever Councillor McMullen said. I certainly believe, I think this is a major election, a thing that we want to take council locally, and I believe we need to do a trial And the trial can find all the flaws and it might only last 3 months and the council doesn't do it. But if we don't do it, I'm very disappointed then that we didn't do what we say we were going to do. And trialling it, I can just tell you it would be not the same as what the 2 terms ago did, because that was daytime. This is when people finish work. And I will be personally promoting it to get people to come and tell us their issues at our council meeting. And even if it is closed, it will be in a situation that the meeting is closed, but people know that we're meeting in their community, in their town, if COVID-19 is still obviously in place. Restrictions.
So Tyson, you're suggesting that we still do it, but don't have the public there while we can't?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I've got it here, subject to COVID-19 lifting restrictions. So what I'm saying is, if we don't draw a line in the sand and say try it for 3 months, but I don't want to assess it because, like, how do you know unless you try it? Like, if you try it, you've got an opportunity to say, that worked fantastically, it didn't, maybe it needs to be tweaked again. But if you don't try it, we have the status quo. And I'd just like to say, the amount of waste I saw in meetings and waste of staff in our last term was incredible. So don't think we're going to be doing the same thing if some of the ideas that I'd like to bring to council are supported. We will not have the same operations of council. And I was amazed at the amount of time staff would be around in the daytime at meetings. And there was people that couldn't go home and pick their kids up and do things that I noticed. So I think this is just something. I would like to start next month, but I'm happy to trial it from June. But yeah, if you think it can never be done, it will never be done. It will never be tried. And if you think it won't work, try it and see. Because we've got 4 years. So when do we start? You know?
Mr Mayor, I'm now really confused. Councillor McMullen has moved an amendment to trial this from June onwards. Are you accepting that as the amendment, as the mover?
Well, I have to ask Councillor McMullen, are you saying trial it in June or consider it in June?
I didn't say that originally, Mr Mayor, but then I changed it to consider, so.
Yeah.
But it's up to you to accept them or whatever.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't accept that amendment. I think we need to trial it. I'm happy I've come here today and changed what I was going to do, but I think we need to trial it, find the flaws, but I'll be certainly listening to every councillor here and trying to alleviate before the trial any issues that they have.
Mr Mayor, are you saying trial it from the 10th of June?
Yes, for 3 months, and then all within 6 months of council being elected. We may not be doing it for the rest 3 years of council, which is a long time. So, but if you say you can't do it, you will never improve in anything that we do.
And Mr Mayor, given that you've opened this up just a discussion, which again I think is refreshing, then how do we, if we're allowing people to get their feet under the table, particularly around the budget meetings, so that's what we'll be doing largely for the next few weeks, when we get to the 10th, so we're not going to consider it again on the 10th, we're just going to start it on the 10th.
So we'll be using the time from now till the 10th of June to prepare for it.
But what happens if people don't like it over that period? How do they express that in a formal way to you?
Well, they've never done it. We haven't done night meetings. We'll be doing day meetings till then, if that's the suggestion. So we'll have day meetings, and then we'll start night meetings for 3 months, see how it goes, and then make a decision.
Yeah.
Well, you know, unless someone's got another idea.
Well, what about we consider what Councillor Guthrie threw in there, like, if the main intent, and I agree with this, right, is to engage more with the community through our processes. If they can't come, and they're talking weeks still, now saying 6 months down the track to now weeks, but they're not putting a time frame on the restrictions, we're going to uplift and go to all these centres, but we're not going to have that engagement to be able to do the part of the trial. So how are we going to know that the community want to come if they're not allowed to come because we can't have supper with them?
Well, you know, the number one thing is we will still be meeting in the region. They will notice we are there. The only reason we won't be inviting them in is if we've got the chief medical officer saying we can't, and we will follow obviously those directions. But it's even on other levels too. We've got councillors from Mitchell, Injune, Surat. We'll actually have a meeting in their own area. And basically, they will notice, just like today, it's closed. It's really troubling that we've closed it, but we have to. So, you know, this is about people, and I would like to see, you were certainly pushing Councillor O'Neill about videotaping meetings. Maybe we videotape those meetings. Maybe we can do that by then.
We'll put a smile on it because you're being recorded now, so...
But really, so the issue is that I believe that this is crucial as a new initiative to try it, and I've certainly pushed back the time to give, you know, everyone more time to get prepared for it.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering whether we can, I still think we need to take in exactly what Councillor Guthrie said about COVID, in fact, the go to communities that we can't open it up, and whether we should be reassessing this in line with what our government tells us about meetings, and we should be reconsidering it then, when we can go to our towns and we can open it up, and it can be exactly what you'd like it to be, is that relationship with our communities. And also, leading up to that, you can show us how it may work, which would be great. And we could also have an assessment on how this might impact our staff, because actually that is a huge concern I have with doing our time meetings, is the impact it has on our staff and cost that is the council. So it would be, as a new councillor, I would actually just like to have all that information before I make that decision.
Mr Mayor, do you accept my original amendment?
Your original one, I do, yeah.
Could we let the motion be put then, please?
Okay, we're going to go to the vote, and this is when everyone votes for or against. So all those for,
Mr Mayor,
So mine's not going to affect, there's pros and cons for public perception, like going back to I think it's a great thing, which was one of the things we stood for, but that's, the community's going to say that's a great thing, but then again, with the virus thing, there's a lot of people get cranky if someone driving down and get something from a shop. So at the moment, there's two sides of the fence, but I think public perception, getting everyone back in the community is a great thing, but just at the moment, the virus, it could be detrimental to us in that respect. But yeah, so I just sort of add that.
And can I just query too, because there's two parts to this, isn't it? It's the holding it at a different time, but then it's the holding at a different location. So if you went with the original, or your suggestion, which was to have 3 months continuing, because as a new councillor coming in, I've got nothing to evaluate. I can't do the pros and cons because I've got nothing to, as experience to then go, this is better than that, because I haven't been part of either or. So from a personal point of view, I'm actually in favour of going with the 3 months to see what you as previous councillors or employees have enjoyed, and then having 3 months of this is the alternative, to be able to then be able to personally evaluate. And I do think, even though I was the one that mentioned the COVID-19, I do believe that things will start changing, and it may be that when you continue with the, if you decide to hold the Wednesdays from 9 till 5, and then you go with the alternative, you may find that the world changes as medical technology and clearances and all those sorts of things happen. So you could be very, very mindful of slight transitions or changes to operations, but in intent, the idea would be to have 3 months of one, 3 months of the other, and evaluate. Is that correct? Yeah.
Well, yeah, so basically we would be doing the 10th of June, the trial will start, but in the meantime you would have the other way, so it wouldn't really probably be 3 months, but it will be,
8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah. But, and then you've got, then council can make a decision what they want to do for the other 3 years of council.
Now, just make a comment, obviously, in that period there too, council could, say, look at the reports we put up there too, to achieve that sort of 4-hour window there too. Obviously, there's something we probably don't need to bring back to the table, so if I can get a bit of feedback from the council over that period there, just on things like grids and water restrictions and the like, and you might be happy to delegate that, which would probably achieve that 4-hour window. So just that 6-8 week opportunity we're at the moment. If you can have a look at the report that we put up, and if I get that feedback from the council to say, look, you know, we don't need to be seeing this, you guys can be making decisions on that. That'll then help us when we get to that trial period there in terms of trying to achieve that hour thing there too.
I agree. So that's streamlining.
Yeah.
We pay you guys you get paid to make those
Just get
decisions.
some feedback. I just need some feedback because the reason sorry, council, I should have said it as an officer. You'll never hear myself and the staff. We don't enter the debate. I won't tell you what you should and shouldn't do. I will seek clarification to help me do my job better. Or if I need to use the facts, I'll present the facts as they are. But that'll just help me. You'll find when you look at the reports, my area accounts probably prepares the majority of the reports, and that's consistently. You'll see. So if we can streamline them at all, that's great. Just let me know. To try and get down to that smaller 4-hour window, just have a look at those reports that we're probably putting up and pass that feedback to the CEO from them.
Yeah, thanks, Director Rob, Deputy CEO. It's a really good point because I know that the Mayor has spoken about that quite frequently. The way to do that is through policy development and delegations. Policy development is the area where it's certainly not a bureaucratic term. What it means is that they are your instructions to the organisation. So, sort of leveraging with Director Rob's comments is that if we can, over these next 8 weeks, have a very intensive review of our policies to identify what the new council's instructions to us are on a range of issues, that will certainly help streamline the meeting process. But when I first arrived, the feeling from councillors was that not enough was going to council. So I guess the pendulum swung very much that way, that we brought most things to the council meeting, and the number of resolutions reflects that. However, the previous term of council did identify that it's time now to have a fresh look at that, and perhaps the pendulum can swing more back to the middle, whereby there are less matters coming to council. But we do, as employees, need to make sure that it is in accordance with your directions. So those policies are really important, that we develop those. So we're also asking the staff to have a look at where they frequently bring matters to council, and where council's position has been fairly predictable on those items, that is a potential policy area that we can embed in the organisation. So there was a logic to bringing it, but there's a time for a fresh look at that now, and in support of what the Mayor has said.
Thank you, CEO. Do we have any, well, we're actually, Councillor Edwards, did you want to say something?
I know we're debating this issue. Basically, everyone's opinions are very common. Everyone's opinions are fine. Everyone's opinions are fine. And I know that all the councillors have had previous experience with this issue. But I'm sort of more inclined to go with the original motion, and that is to go from now. That's what I'd like to see, is to go from now, not in 3 months' time or whatever it is, the 10th of June. Mainly because, we need to get the facts, because I think Rob over there said we work on, you work on facts. Well, that's what I work on too, is facts. So to collect the facts, the appropriate facts, I think we've got to, instead of giving our opinions and all that sort of stuff, I think we've actually got to install something like this to see if it works or not. That's my opinion anyway. I just think if we go into the towns, or if we do this, I think it's much better than just talking about it. I think we've just got to get the facts together, the facts of each case. So, the opinions are fine, but, I think facts are very, you can't dispute the facts. So if we go into it, if if we implement this motion or implement the strategy, I think that, and also I do agree that we've got a mandate to do this as well. I mean, subject to this motion, subject to COVID-19, I think we've got a mandate to do this, and I think we owe it to the people to actually go into these towns and look after them.
I don't think they want us there now.
No, subject to COVID-19, I'm saying, but I think we should, I think we should have meetings in these other towns, I really do. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
Even if people don't come to the hall or wherever we're having it, just for them to know that we're there, I just think that's important. They'll know that we care, you know. We're always having it in Rome, you know, but if they know we're there, it's good for the town, you know, I think.
Okay, well, we've got a motion.
Just clarify really, sorry,
Yeah.
what happens here, because we have a motion, and whether, can you just clarify for us, so if we vote for it, or if we vote, or if it doesn't get up, what happens next?
Yeah, then we put another motion up.
Okay.
Could we just have the motion read out, and its entirety? The council adopt the ordinary meeting schedule of the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, excluding December and January, commencing with supper open to the public at 6 p.m, subject to COVID-19 lifting of restrictions, followed by the meeting starting at 6:30 p.m. and finishing at 10:30 p.m.
Sorry, could I just get clarification that that's not...
Can we just give her the microphone? I'm just...
So you're reading out the original motion.
That's correct.
Could I just get clarification where Councillor McMullen and Councillor...
I think Cal was getting to that, because you amended it at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Now, is that better? Yes. Okay, I'll start at the beginning again. The council adopt the ordinary meeting schedule of the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, excluding December and January, commencing with supper open to the public at 6 p.m, subject to COVID-19 lifting of restrictions, followed by the meeting starting at 6:30 p.m. and finishing at 10:30 p.m, catering to be rotated with local food outlets in each area of the meeting to support local business or non-for-profit organisations. Point 2, hold ordinary council meetings on a rotational basis for the first meeting of each month, starting in Mitchell, Surat, Yilbar and in June, in each area 3 times over a 12-month period, and the second meeting of each month to be held in Roma 12 times over 12 months. Next point, all meetings to be held at existing council buildings in each area. And the final point, commence a 3-month rotational trial of meetings across the region on 10th of June 2020.
So, yeah, well, we've just added, because that was the original motion, didn't have the trial on the 10th of June. Now it's got the trial on the 10th of June, and we'll obviously have to put in, if this gets up, that the general meeting times will have to be 2nd and 4th at 9 o'clock till then. Yeah, we need to add that. For everyone's sake, that, like, the next week's meeting would be here at 9 o'clock, 2nd and 4th till that date where the trial will start. Okay, so you'd have 8 weeks. You'd have 8 weeks of like normal, and then you'd have the 3-month trial. Councillor McMullen, is that what you think?
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Yeah,
We
it's
just
what was read out.
need to put that page in there,
Yeah.
these first 7, maybe 6, or whatever it is.
Would be still the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month, and it would start at 9 o'clock, and then the trial would happen.
Yeah, could we suggest adopt an initial ordinary meeting schedule of the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month?
which will only be 3 meetings. The 22nd of April, the 13th of May and the 27th of May.
Right, correct.
So it would be worth putting those dates in there. Well, initial meeting schedule of X, X and X.
Yeah, I'm happy to put that in there.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Sorry, I think
yep,
we just need to be very clear on
Yep.
the wordings. And then point 2 would be,
Anything else that Kelly read out?
no, the wording is not relevant.
oh, you mean the 12-month thing?
The 3, we need to embed
Yeah.
the 3-month
3 months,
trial.
that's the 3
That,
months, not 12 months.
that from the 10th of,
Sorry, we start at the beginning, on that, so, the intent is to adopt, the usual ordinary meetings, up until the 10th of June to be held in Roma from 9 a.m. Is that, yes, that's the intent?
on those, councillor O'Neill, would you mind?
Oh, the
22nd, the 6th and 20th.
22nd, well, no, it'll be the 13th.
Oh, sorry.
13th of May and the 27th of May. 27th, yeah, 13th and 27th of May, and the 22nd of April is my...
That's correct.
Like Wednesdays, are they?
Yeah.
All Wednesdays, yeah.
And then a 3-month trial being conducted on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month.
Of June, July and August.
With the meeting commencing at 6:30 p.m.
Oh, yeah, starting, yeah, well, maximum time 10:30 p.m. We'll say that. With a maximum finish time of 10:30 p.m., which means obviously we'll lay things on the table in the next meeting to make it all done. Yeah. And then we have the supper, so if COVID-19 is still in, we will be having it closed, and if it has been relaxed, that is allowable, then people can come. And obviously probably still socially distanced, but we allow. And yes, so is the second happy with that?
And the trial will incorporate the second point. The trial will include a rotational basis with the first meeting of the month
Yep, correct.
starting in
Mitchell,
Mitchell, Surat, Hobart and Fiji.
So 3 months, you get 3.
And Mr Mayor, should we add in there that a report be tabled on May the 27th in relation to the Chief Health Officer's direction?
Yeah.
Because the trouble will be to move to those other centres, we don't have rooms like this necessarily. You take the old Mulbar council chamber, for example, we wouldn't be able to sit 2 metres apart like we are now. So there may be some things we need to look at. Yeah.
Mr Mayor, I think the, all meetings would be held at existing council buildings in each area would cover, if we were still in, we would obviously go to the hall or
Subject to COVID-19.
yeah, that's all subject to COVID.
Yeah, subject to COVID-19.
But my point is a report come back at that council meeting prior to this kicking off to make sure that we are meeting all those conditions.
Yeah, and I think the organisation, CEO, that was happening as well. Do you need it in your motion?
I think it would be helpful for the community to understand that council do consider that as part of its decision.
Right, I'm happy to include that. Is the second happy? Righto.
takes a second to warm up.
All right, that council adopt the initial ordinary meeting schedule for the 22nd of April, 13th of May and 27th of May to be held in Roma, commencing at 9 a.m. The second point would be that a 3-month trial be conducted on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month for the 4 months of June, July, August, with the meeting commencing at 6:30 p.m. and at the latest finishing time of 10:30 p.m. And then we were going to go back to include the second point of the Mayor's original meeting in relation to, oh, sorry, I'm just moving things around. Hold the ordinary council meetings on a rotational basis for the meetings starting with the rotation of Mitchell's throughout Yilbar, and then June in each, and that's where the rotation is going to start. For the 3-month trial, yeah. And then an additional point was that a report be tabled on May 27, 2020 in relation to the Chief Health Officer's directions in relation to COVID-19.
Okay. Do we still need to put in all meetings be held at existing council buildings? In each area?
Okay, and I'll put that prior to the final point.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, is there any view about the subsequent schedules still being the 2nd and 4th? I'm
Yeah,
hearing
set
that,
at the same time every month.
so, and foreshadow that the meeting schedule beyond that will still be on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday. It really is just the location and the time that will be reviewed at some time in the future.
Okay, so is the second happy with that?
Yes.
Righto.
With that inclusion?
Yes.
Councillor Mark?
Okay, so this is when we go to the vote. So if everyone puts their hand up, that's for, and if you don't, and then you wait for against, and then you put your hand up, that's against. Okay? So all those for the motion, all those against, 8-1 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on to the next order of business. Item 1.2, appointment of Deputy Mayor. I would like to move that Councillor McMullen is appointed Deputy Mayor in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009, and this be reviewed annually annually at the 12-month mark. Do we have a second for that motion? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Well, anyone can, but I'll start off. Yeah, no, I think obviously Councillor McMullen has done a great job in his first term, and I think he'd be an asset as Deputy Mayor, and I do believe, you know, some people say to me it's the Mayor's deputy, and I do believe we could work well together with the rest of Council to get the best outcome for the people of the Maranoa. Would anyone else wish to speak?
I'm happy to say that when I looked at the counting of the votes, the people have made a very, very clear choice, and I think that with the majority of votes that Councillor McMullen has received, I think that speaks volumes about what the voters would think is a reasonable choice.
Okay, and also just on this, we're going to test the motion. Now, if this motion is not successful, then someone else can put another candidate up, so we're going to test the motion. Would anyone like to speak before we go to the vote? Okay, we're now going to go to the vote. All those in favour? You probably have to vote.
You have to, yeah.
So 9-0.
If you didn't, Jeff, you've abstained and you voted against yourself.
Congratulations, Deputy Mayor.
Thank everyone for giving me the support anyway, so I feel honoured. Thank you.
Okay, Local Disaster Management Group. Item 1.3, LDMG, and just for everyone's benefit, this is our Local Disaster Management Group, which if we ever have a local disaster, i.e. COVID-19, but unfortunately it's been floods in the past, that this group gets activated to support. So it has health, fire, ergon, all different, as well as obviously a major council participation. And as you've read in here, LECCs are the local emergency coordination committees, and they're in the different regions. And I'd like to move that council approve the updated local development management group at LDMG contact list and authorise the Mayor and Chief Executive Officer to formally notify Queensland Fire and Emergency Services of the appointment of the following executive positions. Mayor Tyson Gold, LDMG Chair, Wendy Taylor, LDMG Deputy Chair, Councillor Julie Guthrie, LECC Chair in June, Councillor Joanne Hancock, LECC Chair Surratt, Councillor John Burkett, LECC Chair Mitchell, and Councillor Jeffrey McMullen, LEC Chair Yulba. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ladbrook. You done? Yulba Wallumbilla was Councillor Jeffrey McMullen. Oh yeah, there's two there, I only say one, Yulba. Yeah, Yulba Wallumbilla. Any opposition to the motion? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Well, anyone can speak, but I certainly appreciate what Councillor O'Neill has done last term, but I do think Councillor Taylor would be, bring her experience through business, and it's an opportunity to get people trained up. I did ask Councillor Taylor if she was happy to do that position, and she said she was. I've also checked too on training, and training can be done quickly, so we can get everyone up to speed for all the people that haven't had that training yet, because you need to be do training to act in the position. Okay, does anyone want to speak against the motion? Does anyone want to speak for the motion?
Who seconded that?
Councillor Ladbrook. We'll go to the vote those, and then all those in favour, all those against, 9-0. Item number 1.4, election of Local Government Association of Queensland, LGAQ Policy Executive District Representatives 2020 to 2024. I would like to move that Council receive the letter as presented and attached to the officer's report, and not nominate anyone from Maranoa for the LGAQ Policy Executive term 2020 to 2024, District number 5, South West. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Guthrie. Is there any opposition to the motion? Councillor O'Neill. Who would like to speak first? Would anyone like to speak for the motion? Okay, Councillor O'Neill, would you like to speak against the motion?
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. 4 years ago, councillors, I was very humbled to have received unanimous support from the Maranoa Regional Council in their nomination for the Local Government Association of Queensland District 5 representative. And I was very honoured to have been elected into that role over the last 4 years. The LGAQ is our peak body for local government. And we've got 77 local governments right across Queensland, and we're all divided into districts. And our district is District 5, the southwest. It's Maranoa, Geelong, it's Merway, it's out to Wooloo, and Para and Quilpie as well. And I've been really humbled by the support that I've received, not only by this council, which I serve on, but all 6 of the councils. I've worked tirelessly to advocate on the policy directions that impact on us as local government. I've strongly supported the increase of the federal assistance grants that are critical for us to be able to deliver what we need to deliver in our communities. Maranoa is no exemption, but all rural councils, but particularly rural regional councils, greatly benefit from that contribution each and every year from the federal government. But it was indexed in 2010 by the then government, and it's meant that we've had a steady decline in what we were receiving in terms of the federal assistance grants. The association, and me being part of that over the last 4 years, lobbied and continue to lobby to see that federal assistance grants be returned to 1% of overall taxation revenue. The benefit for us would see it nearly double. The allocation of that type of contribution would have significant benefit to our region and the broader district of the southwest. I've also had the opportunity to champion the Bush Compact. That was an initiative taken by myself and former mayors of Barcaldine, Robbie Chandler, and former mayor of McKinley, Belinda Murphy. We took this initiative with all the gusto that is needed to see the association recognise that we need to do something to support bush councils, us being one of them. And that compact will be an initiative that we will be taking to the state election later in the year and have both major parties and minor parties acknowledge and hopefully sign that they will support our bush councils going forward. So I've got a track record in the advocacy that's required to do this job. We're also extremely lucky in the last term to host the Bush Councils Convention. That saw delegates right across regional Queensland converge right here in this room and next door, stimulating our local economy, and it allowed us to showcase what we're doing as local government. And we've done some pretty impressive things over the last 8 years. And so before I came to this meeting today, I reached out to all the returning mayors and new mayors of the District 5 to seek their guidance as to whether they thought that the role that I played over the last 4 years was one that they were happy with, and if I sought to continue to represent the district, would they be happy with that? I'm pleased to say that the response was incredibly positive. They were and have been very happy with the role that I've been playing. Some of those new mayors, of course, weren't mayors in the previous term, they were councillors. But I've built relationships with all of those councils to ensure that they knew that they had a voice from our broader district into the Local Government Association and out. And when I say out, that's the lobbying and advocacy that we've got to do as an organisation to ensure that local government right across the state are getting their fair share, particularly from the other levels of government. And so I strongly urge you to not support the motion today, and that a subsequent motion be put to nominate me, and it will go to election, I'm sure of that, as a decision that you make in your first meeting that you want to champion in the Local Government Association that has the skills and experience to advocate for what we need here locally. I I think I've got a track record of doing just that. I with all of the 6 councils that make up District 5, and as I say, strongly urge you to vote this motion down and would propose a nomination of myself to continue doing the work that I've done over the last 4 years.
Would anyone else wish to speak?
Can I just clarify some questions?
Sure.
Just reading what was presented, can I just clarify, so from 2008, the Maranoa Regional Council has actually had a delegate to the LGAQ, is that correct? That the mayor of the council had served from amalgamation in 2008.
And prior to that, it was held by the same mayor, but under Bungle. Prior to that, it was held by Roger Gilmore, the former mayor of Marilla. And prior to that, it was held by Mayor Weeks from Belong. And so, Councillor Guthrie, it's not in essence a position, I'm not representing, or those people didn't represent their council, they represented all of those councils. And so it's not an anomaly that they continue to put up the same people year on, year out.
Yeah, because when I just read this and having no prior knowledge of this, if there's 6 different councils and only one person represents all of number 5, would there be consideration given to having succession planning or diversification of people being able to have a look in or an opportunity to serve? It just seems on behalf of the other councils that they are relying on us to advocate for them.
So that's a really good question. In the previous term, I wasn't duly elected. I was nominated by council, there were other nominees from other councils, and we went to an election. And so the district have an opportunity, and all of them may nominate their own delegate. They may do that, and I understand there may be interest to do that. I've only had that second hand. So this is simply a nomination recognising that, for me, I have the skills and experience to be able to do the job.
The Mayor of Council Guthrie's answered a couple of things, but as I said to Councillor O'Neill on a phone discussion, I'm not having a go at him. I believe Maranoa Regional Council or Bungle or all that have had it for so many years. It's time to give the other councils a go. I know by us not nominating, we're not saying they're going to get it, but if we don't nominate and just freeing up, that's probably a good word.
Anyone else want to talk on it?
Yes, I'd just like to acknowledge that I think it's really important to have an experienced person who already has established relationships. It's not about just representing Maranoa, it's about representing the southwest region. And so all we're doing is putting forward somebody from our council, and then it goes to an election from the southwest region. So I think that there is a strong benefit to having an experienced representative from our council at the LGAQ who already has established relationships, and sometimes you need more than just one term to continue those relationships for the better outcome of the whole region. So that would be why I'd actually be supporting for a nomination from Maranoa Regional Council to look forward to the next stage of the selection. So I would be supporting Councillor to that, because I think
What exactly do you do when you go to a meeting?
So I've got the final meeting of the term on Friday, and there are a suite of a deck of papers, not dissimilar to the papers that we'll receive as councillors, and we debate legislative changes that are being proposed either by us as an association, which our council are members of, or the state government that are looking to make changes that will ultimately impact how we do our business. They come back down to us, and there is an incredible amount of reading. You've got to get across the issues, and I've made it my business to ensure that the mayors and the councillors that make up District 5 are well briefed in leading into any decisions that we're making. And so last term, the government made significant changes to the Local Government Act off the back of the Belpara review, and ultimately due to a couple of councils in the southeast that were the bad eggs. And so the government introduced a suite of changes. Some of them have been adopted, some of them have been amended through the consultation with the association, which is LGAQ. So that's one aspect of the role. But as I said before, Councillor Taylor, one of the initiatives that I championed through is the Bush Compact. So there are vehicles to be able to push particular policy positions that the 6 councils want me to take, and the Bush Compact was one of them, and that's to ensure that we're getting our fair share from the state and Commonwealth governments into our communities to be able to do what we need to do.
So do you meet with the other councils face to face and tell them what happened at the last meeting?
Correct.
Or come to this meeting and tell us what happened?
That's correct. So one of the other entities that council has been involved in for a number of years is the South West Regional Economic Development Board. Now I've been a board member of that for as long as I've been on council, or nearly as long as I've been on council. And that was the vehicle for me being able to meet with the mayors and their delegates, and they disseminate that back down into their organisations. There have been times over the last 4 years where there have been really big issues that I needed input from not just the delegates of that type of grouping, but all councillors, and I've engaged with them across electronic means to get that feedback. And it's been well received, and I've shared that back into LGAQ to make sure all of the elected representatives have a voice from our part of the state.
Okay, does anyone else want to speak?
So just for clarity, this nomination is just for us to nominate somebody and then the Southwest gets to vote on that.
Correct.
So we're not saying that we're representation, we're just saying that someone from the Maranoa Regional Council, we're putting forward someone to be considered.
That's correct. Well, that would be correct. This is
Did you want to say something, Councillor?
No.
You're right. Okay, if no one else wants to speak, we might just have the motion read again, please, if we can.
The council received the letter as presented and attached to the officer's report. Point 2, not nominate anyone from Maranoa Regional Council for the LGAQ Policy Executive Term 2020 to 2024, District Number 5, Southwest.
Yeah. And just to explain, the reason that I'm moving this motion is because District Number 5 is 6 councils. In the last 2 terms, in the last 8 years, Maranoa Regional Council has had the delegate. I do believe, firstly, in fairness, that we should have the opportunity for another council, and I do know that there will be other candidates coming from other councils, and I think that is an opportunity for us as probably the largest council in the group is to say that we do like to see other councils take on this role. And I do believe it's going to be a very demanding term in council this with a lot. Well, on that note, we will close the statutory meeting at 11:42 p.m. Thank you